So, New World, Amazon's new MMO, was in preview this past week, and we got to try it out. Now, I tried to get footage of basically everything there was to offer in the preview, from PvP to crafting and a lot of PvE content that was available. So, we're going to show you guys a little bit and give you a taste of what is New World, how does it work, and what things we're going to be doing in the game, and hopefully some changes that they might implement or bring into the game, and we'll give more thoughts on that in the end. And don't forget to come by the Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Let's do it. So as you're starting out New World, crafting and gathering resources is a very natural part of the game. So basically everything you can pick up, gather, and craft with it. And it feels nice, right? It feels great to be able to just go out, grab a bunch of stuff, put a bunch of stuff together. Now we're showing the campsite here, a little bit of wood, a little bit of flint. It acts as a respawn point, which is the most important part of this. So when you're out questing and adventuring, you can use that as your respawn point just in case you die, because it takes a while to get anywhere. Now you can also do some simple crafting with the campsite. You know, a little ammo for your bow and arrow, food, and some basic gathering tools. And like I said before, you can basically see it and you can gather it. You can chop down all the trees, and the cool thing is they actually fall over, which I really like. It's just such a nice touch, you know. Most games, trees just kind of disappear. Now we're gathering on this boulder here, and it's going to be pretty much the same for, you know, your iron ores and your silver ores. You'll find them all throughout the world, and they stay in the same place, so they will regenerate over time. And now we've got hemp, which we'll use for crafting armors and things like that. Now we're going to run over here and kill this elk, which we'll get meat from, which we can make our food with. Pretty simple. Now we're just showing a couple of different things with the crafting. You know, that you basically go out, you gather these raw materials, you take it to these stations, you turn it into a usable crafting material. You know, you take the hemp and you turn it into linen, and then you take the linen to the armor smith or the armor crafting station and you turn it into armor. Now you can basically craft everything, and I really like that you can. You can use every crafting profession. You can craft everything yourself. It just takes time to go out, grind the materials, and grind leveling these skills up. But it can be done. And you can make really high level crafting gear, which I love. So hopefully crafting is a huge part in New World, and you will be able to have that option to craft all the best gear that you can. I really want that. I really want that. I just think it feels like such a good part of the game. It feels very healthy to me. Now we're looking at some of the general stats. You know, you get your typical strength, dex, intel, focus, and constitution. In the preview, constitution was very OP, giving you a much higher ROI than any of the other stats. So I did it. Anyways, now we're looking at the weapon skill trees. Each weapon has its own skill tree, and that is what you use for your abilities. You level them up with use, you pick a tree, and once you finish that tree out, for the most part, you'll be able to spec into the second tree, and then you can swap those skills into any slots that you please. Now, the one thing I don't like about this at all is the cooldowns are tied between the weapons. So at level 30, you can use 3 different weapons. But once you use, say I have my hatchet out, and I use my R ability, then that cooldown slot is used up on all 3 weapons. So even if I switch to, say, my hammer, my R will still be on cooldown. I really hope they change that, because there's such a good opportunity for a lot of variety with the weapons and doing really interesting things with them, because the abilities are very, very impactful and they're very fun to use. So I really, really hope they take that cooldown lock out, and I think they will. They honestly have to. Now we got a little combat here just to show you. These are just light attacks, spamming with the hatchet. A little dodge there. You see that little yellow bar? That's my stamina meter. That tells me that I can dodge and block. We got a little bit of gear here from the faction rewards vendor. So basically you go out and you do quests and corrupted zones, which we'll get to in a minute. And you get faction points and you can buy this nifty gear. Now I think this is hopefully mainly just a preview thing, just for people to level up, get some gear, and test out the game. I really hope this system isn't as prevalent in the actual full game. So we'll see what happens. And now we're to the meat and potatoes of what I mostly did during the preview, which is these corrupted portals. They give tons of XP, and then you use the faction rewards that you get from doing them to buy that faction loot and, you know, get stronger and stronger. Now, there are a couple different types of these. They are interesting, don't get me wrong, but it got a little boring after a while. I kind of was thinking to myself, is this all there is to do? I just have to go out and zerg out on these corrupted portals, and that's basically the game. And honestly, to tell you the truth, that's basically what the game was during the preview. Once you figure that out, this was the fastest way to level and get gear. And I hope it's different. I hope it's different in the new game because it got very old very fast. But yeah, basically you just zerg up and run around and destroy these things all day. Get a bunch of XP and level up and get gear. I don't know. Not my cup of tea. So this is your large-scale PvP. Basically, there are 3 factions that vie over the territories, and then you fight over them in this kind of big King of the Hill type match. And this is pretty much summing up PvP. Grab a hatchet and light attack someone to death, and zerg the shit out of everything. It doesn't get better than that. So here we've got the little dungeon that they had in the game for the preview, which was less of a dungeon. It was more of a bring your Zerg here and kill these enemies on respawn to get XP and loot and try not to die. So, you know, there wasn't really much to it than that, except these enemies were just a little bit tougher. You can see the borders around their names, so they're elites or whatever. Yeah, there's really nothing more to explain about this dungeon than that. You just bring a Zerg here and smack everything to death, which is most of the PvE content in this. You Zerg up, you go smack things. So just to wrap up with, New World was fun, right? The combat was kind of refreshing at first. It's a really pretty game. The crafting is super intricate, and I love that. It just doesn't feel like that part of the game has any throughput with the other parts of the game. For example, the corrupted zones and the large-scale PvP and taking over territories. There doesn't feel like much connection between those things. And I don't think the large-scale PvP is fun enough to warrant me going out of my way to do it, honestly. It wasn't that fun. So why would I level up and grind these corrupted zones over and over again to level up just to do large-scale PvP for no reason? I would like to see something more hardcore, honestly. The questing and the crafting needs to be connected to this large-scale PvP somehow. Can you and your company and your faction gather enough resources to out-resource enemy factions? Right now, it's just Zergs. There's nothing to it but, you know, King of the Hill. I'd like to see something more like Albion Online, where you can actually lose your gear. And these guilds in Albion who gather resources, they have dedicated crafters in the guild to supply all the players with gear to defeat other guilds. And it gives throughput through the content. It gives you a reason to go out and gather resources and craft. I had so much more fun doing the questing and gathering and crafting than I did any of the later stuff, you know, the corrupted zones and the large-scale PvP. The beginning was the funnest part for me, and then once I reached all the other stuff, I was kind of let down. So I'm not completely shutting it out of the park, and I would like to see it become a fun game and a good game. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this gives you a little insight into New World and what it's about. And hopefully we see some more progress on this game in the future, and we'll be covering it. So thank you guys so much, and talk to you later.